Hey there, welcome. This is the third video of a series of videos that I'm doing with regards to the JavaScript execution context or this keyword. In the previous videos, we've seen how a little bit about what the execution context is, and we've also seen the different types of invocations you can do on a function, on different types of invocations. So in this video, we're going to look at where we have to define a function and whether the location of the function declaration actually affects the execution context, and if it affects how and why, right? So there you go. We'll get started. So here you can see in modern JavaScript development, we generally tend to put functions in their own files, right? So this is we're talking about the JavaScript ES6 modules, common JS pattern, and many other techniques that are that have come to rescue our single bundle JavaScript and converted them into multiple JavaScript files that we can build together into a single one, right? So but here we're not touching that concept. We're not talking about where in which file you have to define something. We're not talking about the import and export feature of ES6. In this series, we're only concerned about the question of whether a function is declared outside another function or not, and how that affects it, right? So yeah, quickly we'll take a look at that. We'll go to this example. Here you can see there's a function and there's an object, a classical example. We've been doing this for the past couple of videos. This function is there, and we've seen that we've seen how the execution the invocations differ, and this is the method invocation and this is the function invocation, and you can see I'm just console logging the difference, whether this context is equal to the object that we are referring to. In the first one, when we're calling it like this, it is equal to the function and object, and in the second case, where we're calling it like this, it doesn't equal. So but you can see the syntax is same here and here. We've seen this in the previous one as well. So we can simply replace this function with that variable that also we've seen, and it does not change the fact that the invocation only matters in JavaScript. So it doesn't matter. I mean, ultimately what I'm trying to say here is that it doesn't matter whether it's a it's declared outside of the object or it's declared in line like this, right? It doesn't matter. It is still going to point to the correct object based on the invocation, right? So invocation beats the location for this context, right? That's the ultimate takeaway from this video. Okay, so we can remove the duplicates. We've seen that. So the line is the location does not matter when it comes to using this context. It doesn't matter at all. So you can put it here within the same file. You can put it so let's call this. You can put it in the same file, or you can put it in a different file. Let's say foo.js is one file, and then you put it there and you export it as a default function or any type of named function or something, and then you import it like that, and you can use it similarly. Still, it is only going to consider how you executed it, not where you defined, right? Especially when you look at object literal syntax like this, you get confused. Are we getting a new execution context within these things? Are we getting just because we declare something inside, is it going to always take it? No, it really depends on how you execute it, like we saw earlier. So this one we saw earlier as well in a previous video. So here you can see the function is actually declared as a method in the object, and we're executing it in the context of the object.foo. So it is equal to the object, so it prints true. But the second statement, what we're doing is we're taking the reference of that method into a variable and we're executing it. This returns false because we're executing it in this fashion and not in this fashion. So it doesn't matter where it is, where the function is declared. It only matters how we're executing it. This is also one proof of that, right? So we're not putting the method somewhere else, function somewhere else and taking that reference. We're actually putting the method right inside it, but taking that reference out of that object. So and we're executing in this way. It'll not work, right? There is one special case where you put a function inside a method, right? So let's say closely look at this example. There is a method here, right? So there's a method, and there are a few lines here inside the method, inside the body of the method, and the first few lines is another function declaration. It's a declaration, not an execution. Okay, it's a declaration. So what happens here is if you console log there, as long as you're not executing, nothing is going to happen. But on line number 8, we're still in the context of the object and the method, right? We're in the body of the method, so it'll always look for it is always this context is always pointing to the bounding object, which is the obj, right? Because we're calling it in this fashion on line number 13, right? So when we are executing this line number 13, object.foo will be executed, which is executing this function, and it is coming inside. It is declaring the bar function. It is doing a console log, which let me quickly run it. Returns true, first console log, and then it returns the bar function from inside to outside. So we're getting the reference to that bar function, and if we execute the bar function, it is not equal, because it is not executed in the context of the function. As simple as that. Don't bother where the location of the function is, right? It can be here. It is as good as one second. So this one is as good as, I'm going to refactor a little bit, right? So declaring it there and returning it out of here, same thing, right? As good as that. Or even better, we can do something like this, right? So we're doing this, we're calling it foo, and we are actually returning foo, and we're executing foo. Still the same thing. So what's going on here? So we are instead of defining the function right here, right inside, and creating declaring another function within function, we could have written like this also. Both of the functions are outside, and we're passing just the references to those functions, and then we're executing. All that matters is how we are executing the function. So here we're executing the function foo function in the object context because it's a method. And here we're not executing in the object context the return value because it's not a method. It's not object.bar cannot be done. Object.bar func also cannot be done. So that's why when we execute, it is not taking the context of the object. That's why this statement is false. Okay, so how you invoke is all that matters. Okay. So that's it. This is a quick one. So this video is just to prove that the location of your function declaration doesn't matter for normal functions. Okay, this is a caveat for normal functions, because in the next video we're going to dive deep into the craziness of arrow function and functions, and how it is going to tilt your world upside down with regards to whether location matters or whether invocation matters. Right, so just keep an open mind for the next one, and I hope to catch you soon.